Hello, everyone. In the 18th century, in the city of Bath, England, there lived a young pastor named Thomas Albright. He was the son of a poor farmer from a small village in Somerset, but from a young age, Thomas showed a deep interest in the Bible and the moral values it taught. His parents, despite their modest life, always encouraged Thomas to learn and do good for others. Thomas eventually earned a scholarship to study at the University of Oxford, where he pursued theology. During his time there, he became known not only for his intelligence but also for his humility and sincerity in serving others. He was often seen sharing food with the poor on the outskirts of the city and visiting prisoners in jail. After completing his studies, Thomas returned to Bath and was appointed pastor of a small church in the city center. Every Sunday, Thomas's sermons at the church were filled with messages of love and forgiveness. However, he did not just preach, he acted. He established a soup kitchen in the churchyard to feed the hungry, initiated reading and writing classes for children from poor families, and even fought for reforms in the working conditions of local factories. Challenges came not only from factory owners, who felt Thomas threatened their interests, but also from certain members of the church who considered his efforts too radical. Yet Thomas remained steadfast. He believed that serving God was not only done at the altar but also through concrete actions to uphold human dignity. One bright afternoon, Pastor Thomas Albright decided to clean the basement of the small church where he served in Bath. The space had long been untouched, filled with dust and cobwebs. As a meticulous pastor, Thomas felt that taking care of God's house also meant ensuring every corner was clean and tidy. While moving an old table, his eyes fell upon an ancient wooden chest hidden behind a pile of worn-out books. The chest looked old, with a carving of a cross barely visible beneath layers of dust. Curiosity sparked within Thomas. He moved the chest to the center of the room and carefully opened its lid. Inside the chest, he found a very old manuscript. Its cover was made of animal leather that had started to deteriorate, and the text was written in ancient Greek. Beside the manuscript were scrolls that appeared to be additional letters. Thomas, who was well-versed in reading Greek from his studies at Oxford, began examining the contents carefully. As he read, Thomas realized that the manuscript was an original gospel, seemingly written long before the canonical version known in his time. To his surprise, the text depicted Jesus not as God, but as a prophet sent by God, Prophet Isa, who was sent to bring a message of peace and to save humanity from their sins through moral teachings and compassion, not self-sacrifice. Further, the manuscript spoke of a prophet who would come after Jesus, referred to as the Parakletos, helper or guide, who would bring the final teachings for humanity. Thomas felt his mind shaken. He tried to digest what he had read, as its contents were vastly different from the teachings of the church he had studied for years. Thomas spent weeks secretly studying the manuscript, comparing it with the Bible he owned. His heart was in turmoil. He felt that the truth he had uncovered was too great to keep to himself, but he also knew that revealing it could bring serious consequences, including losing his position as a pastor and facing condemnation from the church. Finally, one Sunday morning after the service, Thomas decided to address his congregation. With a calm yet resolute voice, he said, "My brothers and sisters, in our quest to understand God, we sometimes discover things that change the way we see the world. Recently, I discovered an ancient manuscript in this church. This manuscript reveals that Jesus, or as referred to here, Prophet Isa, was a messenger of God, not God himself. He came to show the righteous path, just as prophets before and after him have done." The congregation was shocked, and some even left the church in anger, but others remained seated, listening intently. Thomas continued, Does this mean we must abandon our faith? No. Instead, it means we must understand that faith in the one true God is at the core of everything. We must love God and our neighbors wholeheartedly, just as Prophet Isa taught. News of the discovery of an ancient manuscript in the small church in Bath shook the congregation. Pastor Thomas Albright, long respected for his wisdom and devotion to God, decided to reveal the contents of the manuscript to his congregation. During a Sunday morning service filled with curiosity, Thomas stood at the pulpit, holding the ancient text in his hands. "My brothers and sisters," he began with a calm yet confident voice, "throughout my life, I have sought the truth. I believe God leads us on his path in mysterious ways. Recently, I discovered this ancient manuscript, which I believe has been hidden for centuries. This text contains a message that differs from what we have learned. Jesus, or as he is referred to here, Prophet Isa, was not God but a messenger of God. He came to deliver a message to worship the one true God and to prepare the way for the final prophet after him." The room fell silent. The congregation was stunned, but their respect for Thomas kept them seated, listening. Thomas continued, "I have studied this manuscript carefully and found that it aligns with what is mentioned in the scriptures of another faith, Islam. Prophet Isa, like Moses and Abraham, was a prophet calling humanity back to the one true God. And Prophet Muhammad is the final prophet, as stated in this text." Faces in the crowd reflected confusion, some fear, but many showed curiosity. Thomas paused, looking at them with eyes full of love. "I know what I am saying is shocking, but I cannot hide the truth. I have read the Quran and found the same message: to worship the one true God, live a life of righteousness, and honor all the prophets he has sent." Taking a deep breath, Thomas raised his hand and declared, "Today, I am taking a great step in my life. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. I accept Islam as my way of life." The room fell silent once more. Some people stood, looking bewildered and disbelieving. However, many among the congregation who had trusted Thomas felt their hearts moved by his honesty and conviction. One of his most loyal parishioners, an elderly woman named Mary, stood up and said, "If Pastor Thomas, who has always sought the truth, has found light here, then I too will follow him." One by one, others in the congregation began to stand. They bore witness to Thomas's testimony and declared their faith in Allah. They did not see this as a betrayal of Jesus' teachings, but rather as a continuation of the true message. For them, accepting Islam was a way to follow the true path of Prophet Isa, a path leading to the one true God. News of this extraordinary event spread throughout the city and beyond Bath. The old church, once a place of Christian worship, transformed into a place of Islamic worship. Thomas, now known as Muhammad Abdullah, became the first imam of the mosque. He taught the Quran to his new congregation, showing how Islam and the teachings of Prophet Isa complemented one another, rather than contradicting. Despite challenges and opposition from the larger church and the local community, Thomas and his congregation stood firm. They believed they had found the truth and lived in peace. The old church became known as the Masjid of Light in Bath, a place where love and truth found their way, and where many found the one true God. The legacy of Thomas Albright, or Muhammad Abdullah, remains alive as an example of courage to follow the truth, even when it means going against the currents of the world. On the wall of the mosque, an inscription of a verse from the Quran, which became his life's motto,